as promised, we're going to welcome back the part 2 of our interview. We're in Toronto, actually, in Canada still, and John DeBenedictis, and of course, he's a wealth of knowledge. So, John, I want to get into this NSCAC. What does that mean? And how can that transport your experience with that kind of background to, say, to the Philippines?
Oh, good question. So the NSCAC stands for the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada. It's a mouthful. And basically, we got started by the National Soccer Coaches Association of America, NSCAA, which now has changed their name to United Soccer Coaches. But when the NSCAC started, it was we were Region 9 of the American Association, which is the largest coaching association in the world for any sport. They have conventions still in the United States every year, and they draw 10 to 12,000 coaches and exhibitors and media and all sorts of people to that convention, and they pretty much take over downtown of the city every year. So this year, 2023, it's going to be in Philadelphia, or next year, I should say, the next convention. And I think it moves to Anaheim. It kind of bounces around between California, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Chicago, and somewhere Kansas City. So it's a phenomenal convention. All the top coaches in the world do go there and speak quite often. And so we were Region 9 of that association. And then back in 1994, our national coach, Tony Waiters, who was the representative for Canada, was asked, why don't you just form your own association as opposed to being Region 9? And he recruited myself along with Gary Miller, late Gary Miller, who may have known, with Ontario Soccer, a couple of guys from BC and Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And we started the NSCAC. So it's been around since then. It's been a bit of a rocky ride at times. We're all volunteers, And so what we've done lately is we've started what we call Behind the Bench, which is a webinar online series. Try and do an episode every week or two. It usually lasts about an hour. We pick a coaching topic. And that coaching topic will be good for pretty much, not always, almost any coach around the world. We may be talking about systems of play or principles of play. We've had Portuguese assistant coach be one of our guests, and he talked about building your team strategies, attacking and defending. So a lot of the topics we cover are good for any coaches. So coaches in the Philippines could tune into that. And we have a members only section where they can see the full sessions. And there's also little bits of it on YouTube. So, NSCAC.ca is our website, and they could get more information.
Maybe you want to repeat that again.
Yeah, NSCAC.ca.
.ca.
Is our website, and you can find out about our membership and all the Behind the Bench that we do live. They're free for anyone. It's only if you miss it, you'd have to be a member to go and watch it.
So, and again, I am familiar with this program, and just recently, before I left in May, I was with a camera crew in the Philippines, in Cebu actually, looking at a training ground. There was 34 young kids there. They're between the ages of 8 and 16, and 2 coaches that were just dynamite, but they were desperate to find how they can improve their environment and how they can improve their coaching contacts, etc., and training programs, which is very good. A lot of parents support it as well. So coming back to the association, you've had some very high-profile other guests on it.
Yeah, we've had coaches. I say the assistant coach, Joao Rosso from the Portuguese national team. He also coached with the Moroccan national team for a year or two. We've had, all our national coaches have kind of been on it. Tony Waiters and the late Tony Waiters, Frankie Allop, Colin Miller. A lot of national team coaches from the U.S. We've had Ian Barker join us. We've had Barry Gorman, who was with Penn State for a number of years. Carlo Doazian from California is the head of California Youth Soccer. So we brought in a lot of different coaches. I can't remember them all right now. A lot in sports science as well. Richard Bucciarelli, our director of sports science, he speaks to sports scientists across the world. He just came back from a session in, I think it was Portugal or Spain, a World Sports Science Conference. And he's always been able to connect with some of the top world sports scientists and bring them on our webinar. So we've had a lot of good different guests, and we want to continue to do that.
Of course, one of the big questions in our telephone conversations, I wanted to ask you, how much soccer changes have you seen in Canada?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I think when I was a young boy, when people used to go to watch games at the old Varsity Stadium here in Toronto, they used to be mostly ethnic from European countries. And that's changed. That kind of went down as the immigrants from Europe, they got older. They started watching their kids and grandkids instead of going to a professional game. So the old local Italians and Portuguese and Serbian teams, they lost support as the immigrants got older. And so the numbers went down. From a professional, there was no league, as you know, until the A-League came. That really didn't work very well for here in Canada. But it's the MLS that really changed things. And believe it or not, I think the reason we're really growing quickly is because of a hockey club. To me, it was the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club that really kickstarted soccer, because once they decided to bring the MLS to Canada, they did what no other organization was able to do. They spent a lot of money on advertising, and then they also built a soccer-specific stadium, which didn't exist.
Which is BMO
Field, right?
Yeah.
And then of course in Montreal they followed, and then Vancouver, and they have a soccer-specific stadium in Montreal. Toronto also built their own academy and beautiful fields out in the Downsview area, and everyone's following suit. But the other thing that Toronto did is they also changed the whole league. I think the whole MLS was structured around the soccer moms and soccer dads bringing their kids. So if you watch the game before Toronto and you looked at the background, you see a whole bunch of kids running around. They weren't even watching the game. Toronto changed that. They decided to go after the supporter section like they had in Europe. And they encouraged supporter section with the singing and the chanting. And when they came, they brought a whole different atmosphere. They did not go after the soccer moms and dads. They went after the supporter sections, gave them great deals, made them feel part of the organization. And when we went to that stadium with everybody singing and dancing or whatever, it just changed it. And then all the other MLS teams changed their marketing philosophy. And since then, as you can see, it's grown phenomenally. And more kids want to be on that field with 20,000 people. Right?
Exactly.
It's all about that. It's not really much more. We could talk about coaching programs and all these other programs. If once soccer is there with 20,000 people, every little kid wants to be on that field who's watching, and that's your number one marketing tool.
Exactly.
So yeah,
I'm going to jump in here because it's congratulations to Canada for making the World Cup, friends. But I found this to remind me that they made the World Cup. I think it was 1986 in Mexico was the last time. But I'm going to take the bet. It's 10-1 to say that Canada doesn't score a goal. I think they will score several goals. However, it's also congratulations to the Philippine national women's team, which will be playing in either Australia or New Zealand, hasn't been decided yet, in 2023. The men's program is kickstarting again in the Philippines. But John, before I let you go, Canada has done well for another World Cup.
Yeah, it's the first time we've made it. And, these kids who probably started watching your Toronto FCs and Vancouver Whitecaps and then picked up on MLS. And television has also helped. NBC, I think it was, when they brought in the Premier League. Because when we were young, there was no soccer on TVs. But these kids now can tune into any game. And the internet, you can watch clips. And And so these kids now have developed, like an Alfonso or Jonathan David and Rosario. And, I think the path has been set through the media for kids to want to play soccer.
We should also mention Jim Taddy. Years back, I mean, nobody was covering on his sports channel on a nightly basis football or soccer. And by luck had it, I was able to join Jim Taddy. And what a master he is. It's a pity he's still not in TV. I say that, but TSN do have a radio show with him. However, he brought in the World Cup several times. We used to sit in the studio on 2 bar stools, call it, I think it was Studio 5. All it had was 2 lights above us. And everybody was saying, where the hell is this Studio 5? But anyway, it didn't exist. But coming back, John, you've been a man of vision for this game. And I say at the end of the game, for the love of the game, but I think you've married the game. I got the love, but you've married the damn game. But it's great. And fortunately for me, I may be back. I say maybe back, probably next March or April. So we should team up together. But
Sure.
we should also watch for NSCAC. And for coaches in the Philippines, if you contact me, I'll help you out and get the connections so we can all improve the game itself. So, John DeBenedictis, thanks for tuning in. Pete Irvin, your host, of course, for the love of the game, covering Philippine football and international news.
This has been brought to you by Sun Sports and Bad Beat Sportswear. Share, like, subscribe and ring the bell for news, interviews, breaking stories. Thanks for watching On the Ball Report.